Thank you, Ms. Barton. Good evening, everyone. The time is 7:02. I would like to call the Parent and Community Advisory Council meeting into session for February the 7th, 2024. Mr. Carter Ross, can you take roll call, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. Dr. Paris Adon, Reverend Dr. Orlando Germain Bego, Ms. Rebecca Brown, Mr. Will Epps,
Present.
Dr. Sheila Jackson,
Present.
Ms. Carletta Lundy,
Present.
Chair Dolores Millhouse,
I'm sorry, present.
Carter Ross is present, Ms. Teresa Smith, Ms. Kyra Walker,
She's coming in.
Ms. Kyra Walker,
Present.
Ms. Robin Welsh, Ms. Latanza Wilson.
Present.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Chair, we are at 7 members, which is 1 short of a quorum.
Okay. At this time, we do not have a quorum. And so therefore, we will not be able to move forward with our February 7th, 2024 meeting. I do want to give some updates at this time, though. I'm pleased to announce that the applications for District 1, 4, and 9 is now up until February the 15th. The superintendent liaison is leading the charge to make sure that those vacancies are taken care of. We have also had a couple of meetings, and thank you for the members who were able to come out to have a discussion regarding the climate and culture survey. It was a very robust discussion. So thank you all for the feedback. Ms. Barton, I'll make sure that you have that to add to the board docs, as well as the data and literacy event that has been postponed. Tentatively, it's scheduled for March the 6th. We are waiting to get feedback whether or not that will be a go. It is going to be a hybrid event to support parents in really understanding data literacy. And so I just want to give those few feedbacks. Does anyone have anything that's happening in the community that they want to share before we end the call? Ms. Wilson?
Yes, I am going to be joining at 7:30. There is a DKFI PTA meeting that I'm going to be hopping on. They have decided to have an emergency meeting, given that unexpectedly there was an announcement of a shift in the location where the school was going to be located. So that a school could be built for another school. And there was some lack of communication that happened. So want to kind of hear what the parents have to say and, figure out how to be able to address that in this capacity. So that's at 7:30. I will check and see if, the link and everything can be shared with any members that would like to attend if we're not going to have our meeting tonight.
Okay, I was just advised by Ms. Barton that we have a quorum. It is 7:07. I'm going to move forward and motion that we restart the meeting. We
Apologies, I did the wrong link, so apologies.
No, it's okay, Ms. Brown. That we will now begin, we will go into session at 7:07 for our February the 7th, 2024 PCAC meeting. Mr. Ross, can you take roll call?
Dr. Parasadon, Reverend Dr. Orlando Jermaine Vega,
Present.
Ms. Rebecca Brown,
Present.
Mr. Will Epps,
Present.
Dr. Sheila Jackson,
Present.
Ms. Carletta Lundy,
Present.
Chair Dolores Millhouse,
Present.
Carter Ross is present, Ms. Teresa Smith,
Present.
Ms. Kara Walker, Ms. Robin Welsh,
Present.
Ms. Latanza Wilson.
Present.
Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, and thank you, everyone. And so at this time, we are in my welcome. I've already welcomed you all, but as we are starting this meeting again, thank you for coming out tonight. And I am excited that we are here once again to kind of just move forward in discussing a couple of items. And what I want to also ask is that we are mindful of one thing. We may be on this committee as representatives, right, for our district, for our specialty areas, but first and foremost, most of our roles are as parents, right? And so I want us to be mindful that we understand the impact that we have as the parent, especially when we collaborate and work together with our community members. And that is what PCAC is about how we collectively come together and pull together our resources and build capacity, provide advice to the board as well as to the superintendent. And so I mentioned that we had a couple of events that happened, but I will leave that until my report. At this point, I want to move forward in adopting the February 7th, 2024 meeting agenda. But what I would like to do is ask that we make a revision to the agenda, since I do know a few of you have to jump off to go to other meetings. I would like to ask that we move item 2.1, election of PCAC vice chair, that we move that to item 1.4, I'm sorry, to item 1.5. And then the report of the PCAC chair can be moved to item 2.1. Can I get a motion from the floor?
Motion.
Asking, okay, thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Are there any opposing? Okay, so at this time, item 1.5 will reflect as the election for PCAC vice chair. And then item 2.1 will reflect the report of the PCAC chair. Okay, and so at this time, I want to move to item 1.4, approval of meeting minutes for January 10th, 2024. At this time, can I get a motion to
So moved.
adopt?
I'm sorry.
Can I
You
get a
need a,
motion to adopt the approval of the meeting minutes for January 10th, 2024? I'm sorry, to approve the meeting,
Thank you. Okay.
to approve the meeting minutes for January 10th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Are there any opposed? All right, at this time, we have adopted approval of the meeting minutes for January 10th, 2024. We are now in item 1.5, which is the election of the PCAC vice chair vacancy. And I will say in full transparency, I've tried and asked a million and one ways how we could do this by individuals nominating ahead of time, us doing it by polling, but I have been advised that that is not the case. So we have to take the nomination from the floor, and the voting will also happen from the floor. So at this time, would anyone like to nominate or self-nominate for the position of PCAC vice chair?
Point of
I mean, at this time, don't get so
Rest of
excited.
This is for the remainder of just this term, correct? Because we will all be reappointed at the end of the school year, correct?
So no, based on the last bylaw committee, the policy committee meeting, based on how the policy 1500 is written, that those individuals who were appointed for the recently appointees will do their rolling 2-year term. The vice chair, yes, is for the term that will end this school year. And then next school year, there will have to be a new vote that goes in. So yes, this is just for the remaining of the term, but for the individuals that just came on, they will not be leaving because their term is not ending when our term ends this June. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question? Okay. So this is yes for the rest of this term. Again, don't get too excited. I mean, somebody needs to come on and
Chair Millhouse, this is Teresa Smith. I would like to self-nominate.
all right, let's go. Everybody, let's vote. And I'm just so we have a nomination from the floor. We have a self-nomination of Ms. Teresa Smith, representative from District 6, who has thrown her name in the hat. Is there anyone else? Because we're going to wait 1, 2, 3 more seconds, and I'm going to count to 5.
Chair Millhouse, I would like to nominate T. Carter Ross. But I have to ask them, do they want to, does he want to accept or
Respectfully, Ms. Lundy, I
Decline.
appreciate that, but I would decline simply because I don't want to have us have to try and find a new reporter.
Yeah, we remember that. All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So going once, going twice. Are there any more nominations or self-nominations from the floor?
I would like to self-nominate myself, Carletta Lundy.
Okay. So now we have an election. We have Ms. Carletta Lundy, who represents the civic engagement community, and we have Ms. Teresa Smith, who represents District 6. And so I'm going to give the floor to each of you to say a couple of words on your reasoning why and what you feel that you can bring to the role of vice chair. And then afterwards, we will go into a matter of voting. Ms. Teresa Smith?
All right, good evening, everyone. I am Teresa Smith. I am seeking the role of vice chair for PCAC. I have been a board member for organizations both in the community as well as the professional environment. I share responsibilities for determining decisions on programs as well as investments. Recently, I had the position of vice chair in my organization's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council, where we were responsible to advise our center director on solutions to issues specifically for that subject matter. Therefore, I understand and have experience with preparing reports and presenting key findings, as well as updates to a broader audience, running meetings, collaborating with other members, and supporting the chair in their duties. I am a firm believer of being a part of the change you seek to have in place. As such, I am here to assist and lead in the efforts on the work we are expected to perform. I also don't mind challenging the status quo and asking questions that will cause us to pause and think. I can see big picture, but I also can be an executor. And lastly, I have the ability to communicate up as well as downward to ensure we all have the same baseline of understanding. So today, I seek to have your vote. Although I will need to learn processes and procedures, rest assured that I am a quick learner and can adapt. I have been a PGCPS parent for 11 years, and I have at least 12 more years to go. I am grateful to have been selected as my district's representative, and today I hope you trust that I will be able to execute the duties of vice chair. And again, I am dedicated to being part of the change that I seek to have for our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Ms. Lundy?
Okay, thank you so much. Oh, what a hard act to follow. But let's go. So hello, everyone. My name is Carletta Lundy, and I am too seeking your vote for the position of vice chair. I have a lot of advocacy and community leadership, management, administrative experience and exposure as far as it relates to this county. I have raised 3 children, 2 of whom have attended Prince George's County Public Schools and are doing quite well right now. I am also a member secretary for the Prince George's County NAACP and the housing chair. So that speaks to my leadership skills. I also recently was appointed to a county, 2 county boards. One is a work group and one was a board. I've also worked on financial reports. I was also a part of a campaign for a person who's now part of the Central Democratic Prince George's County Central Committee who ran for state senator. So I definitely understand working with people, volunteering, organization, reporting, all of that. I am also a member of the Phi Law affiliate with the Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. That's a sister organization, which speaks to leadership as well. I have also worked as a recording secretary, so I do have administrative skills where I can complement our chair. I also understand what it means to speak before our board, as I have in my former position as a former councilwoman, had the pleasure of speaking before state and local and county representatives. And also I was appointed to this board right here, the Parent Community Advisory Council, for my civic and community engagement work in Prince George's County. I'm also a part of the steering committee at the International High School of Langley Park in Bladensburg, Maryland, where I have brought resources there to help students and parents. I also work in my community supporting District 4 board member Shayla Adams Stanford, and also working closely with now your student, your parent representative, Jalsa Rout. So I do have relationships with board members right now and seek to work with future board members. And so I would love to have your vote. And again, thank you for this opportunity, and I hope you would vote for me. Thank you so much. And thank you to the other young lady who's running as well.
Ms. Lundy, thank you. Ms. Smith, thank you very much. And I want to say thank you both for throwing your name in the hat. And it is a big hat to wear. Ask Mr. Epps. It's very fun. Mr. Epps, your hand is up.
Yes, Ms. Miles, thank you so much. I have a couple questions. And first, again, thank you, Ms. Lundy and Ms. Smith. You both make it very difficult, at least for me. And so because of that, I do want to make sure my vote is thought out for the present and future of the PCAC. So I just have a couple of questions based on kind of this school year and next school year from a technicality standpoint. So Ms. Lundy she came in at the same time that I did as well, and our term is expiring. Does Ms. Lundy have an opportunity to continue in the PCAC for another term starting next year? And so that's part one. And then Ms. Melhouse, I believe you already answered this already. Ms. Smith will be vice chair only at this time, correct? So two parts. Can Ms. Lundy continue in a PCAC role that she's in now outside of leadership going forward for next school year? Does she still, or once her term is up, is that, does she have to reapply? Can she reapply? I hope that makes sense. I just want to find out kind of where.
Yes, it does. It makes sense. So policy 1500 currently states that a member can actually serve 2 consecutive terms. We, all of us who are now on our first term would have to reapply. And so she would be able to, if also selected, she can reapply and serve another term on the committee. And your other question was.
You answered the second question.
Okay.
When I first before we started.
Yes, and then the officer terms are 1 year.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah.
And so those 1-year terms are then reelected the next school year.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay, so Chairman House, I have a question because I want to make sure that I can keep my name in the running. So based on Mr. Epps' question and your response, we would have to reapply. We would automatically be put back on the board, or that has to be for consideration.
Yeah, it will be for consideration.
Oh, so that's yeah.
So let me state this.
That's part 2 to his question. Okay.
The policy 1500 has finally moved forward to the board, and it should be going forward for, I believe, first reader, which then opens it up to the community to provide feedback. Provide feedback, right? Provide your voice. I attended as many of the meetings as I possibly could to make sure that our thoughts and concerns as we were starting off the first term were added. And so right now, the way the policy is written is that we can serve 2 consecutive terms. It does not address reapplying. But based on the revisions and suggestions that were made, that is part of the conversation to make sure that it is clear that if a person wants to serve another term, they would then also have to reapply. And that reapplying means that it would then go to the superintendent. Superintendent makes a recommendation to the board, as it relates to the individuals that they deem would be the best fit to serve on the Parent Community Advisory Council. Does that answer the question? Yeah. Do we have any other questions? And so at this time, I know we have about 4 minutes left. I want to make sure that if there are any other questions that you want to even ask the candidates, you can do so at this time. But I do know we have 2 members that need to leave. So I want to make sure that we are affording the opportunity before they have to go to cast their vote. Now, Robin, if some way this cannot happen, but Ms. Barton and I, we're trying to work on getting a poll up so people could utilize the poll. and Netflix, Lord help me. Zoom is not allowing the webinar, the way we have it, for that to happen. So Ms. Barton is stating that if we could have the individuals send the candidate of choice name to Ms. Barton? Or do we have to vote from the floor in an open forum?
Excellent to me.
Are you asking me?
Yes.
I think that since we are in an open meeting, we should do a vote just like the board would vote normally on different things. I think that's something that we
Yeah,
need to
but when they
just,
vote on elections, they don't open vote like that. They have a on the dais, they have a light and stuff. So like, it's
Well,
not exactly the same.
think,
Not, they don't do open voting like this. So
haven't we done all the other ones as an open vote previously?
we did, because no one was able to provide me the functionality for people to cast a ballot other than in the open.
So what's it, Ms. Barton, so what are you saying? Everyone would send in the name? Is that what you're saying?
Just text me the name of their nominee of choice. They don't have to say who they are, because I don't have everyone's phone number in my phone. So if you just text me the name of the person that you choose, and I would just tally those votes.
And do it right this moment, you're saying?
Yes.
Oh,
Absolutely.
we could do that that way. Yeah.
Okay.
Are we able to do it in the chat? Just send her a direct chat
There's
Yeah, I
no
so
don't
that
have
it
your
is
number.
recorded?
there's no chat.
There's no chat with the Board of
Oh.
Education.
Yeah, we don't have that functionality either, Ms. Walker.
So I need to email it to you, Ms. Barton? I don't
No,
know.
so the number that
Text.
her number is 240-302-4709.
And this
And
is
then I
my
have
phone.
okay, just send it there. And I have a question.
Say it one more time.
Can you
for
say that
my
number
house.
again,
One more
please?
time.
Yes, it is 240-302-4709.
I'm sorry, Miss Millhouse. I was trying to type it and it disappeared. Could you say it one more time? I'm sorry.
240
Mhm.
302 4709.
Thank you.
So I'm double checking. So I don't want to give the results until I double check, okay?
Thank you.
I have a tie. I have 5 and 5.
Well, I guess they both have to do it, Ms. Millhouse.
Well, I will step down right now and someone can take the chair. Someone can take the chair. So yeah, we have 17 participants on here. I know 2 of you all cannot vote.
But 4 of those are attendees, so you can't count the,
Oh, okay, I see participants though.
right. So we have 13 panelists, meaning that's who the people we can see. So Mr. Briggs can't vote.
No, I know
can't
that.
vote.
I know that. I'm looking at, yeah. So we have a tie.
You're out.
Robin?
Yes. I
we-
I
we
can't
go back
help
and
you.
Revote. We could get to go back and do it again.
I'd see anything I can tell you to do. I don't know what you do when you normally have ties
Yep.
except revote.
Go
Point of
back.
order, Madam Chair, Dr. Bago.
Yes, Dr. Vega.
What does the bylaw say regarding the chairperson's ability to vote?
It
Do
doesn't.
they? Okay.
It doesn't. So I cast a vote already. So mine wasn't the tiebreaker, but it doesn't state whether or not I am able to vote in the election or not.
Did you want to get down there?
So
Just, if I may, a point of order, there are 11 members of the committee who should be able to vote. So we either have 1 abstention or 1 failed ballot being cast. It wasn't transmitted.
Chair Millhouse, my hand is raised.
yes, Miss Lundy.
Thank you for recognizing me. Could we just do open like we did and just put it on the table and just have people to vote? That way we can see what the vote is instead of, because obviously we had something to go haywire. So can we just vote right here like we did for our last time we did it? What's the problem? in doing that?
Let me just first ask Ms. Barton to review. Ms. Barton,
I'll go back through it again.
We actually have an even number. We have 12. So that's why it's split 6 and 6, it looks like.
well, she said 5 and 5.
Oh, I can't count. I apologize. Okay.
Well, Mr. Carter, you took roll, correct?
Correct. We have 11 members of the committee with us. There are 13 on screen with us, but Ms. Barton and Mr. Briggs are not able to vote on this.
Right.
I'm so confused.
And Ms. Lundy, so yes, after Ms. Lundy, I'm sorry, after Ms. Barton reviews the responses, and if we cannot determine where the disconnect is, then we, if the body approves, we can move forward with open voting. And I know that's what we've done in the past, but it was not done because it was the choice. It was the only thing that we had available to us to do.
And then, Madam Chair, I had a question for Mr. Briggs, I'm sorry, school board member Briggs on the, what we were talking about with respect to the reapplying of members whose terms will be expiring.
Okay, and so
Thank-
Ms. Barton, just thank you, Ms. Lundy. I will allow you to ask that question um, in a moment at the time on the agenda. And so at this time, Ms. Barton has provided the results. Ms. Smith has a total of 6. Ms. Lundy has a total of 5. And so at this time, Ms. Smith will be filling the vacancy of vice chair for the Parent and Community Advisory Council for the remainder of the school year. Thank you, Ms. Barton, and thank you, everyone who was able to stay on. I know a few of you have some other meetings that you want to go to. Ms. Lundy or Ms. Smith, would you like to have anything to add or close out before we move past this moment on the agenda?
Just would like to say thank you. I'm excited to partner with you, Ms. Millhouse, to get the work done.
And I would like to say thank you to everyone who voted for me on this. I do recognize that we probably would have preferred to have a parent to be the vice chair, perhaps. So, you know, congratulations to Ms. Teresa Smith. All right, God bless you.
Thank you. So at this time, we are going to move into the report of the superintendent designees. Ms. Welsh, Dr. Jackson.
You want me to go first?
Please go ahead. Yes, thank you.
I would just, and actually, Chair Millhouse has already referred to it several times tonight, but I thought it would be important to sort of go over some of the major changes in the Parent and Community Advisory Council policy, only because it's at the next board meeting, at the next Policy and Governance Committee, it comes up for action, on which they'll vote then to send it to the full board for public comment. So you still have actually 2 opportunities to give feedback. One would be at the Policy and Governance Committee meeting, because they have a public comment section, and then also once it goes to the full board to go out to public comment, then you can also provide public comment there. But I think just actually Chair Millhouse actually shared some of the changes, which is, I think, are important. It does talk about members being in good standing, and that that would mean that they do meet the membership requirements when that, and the reason that's in there because of the fact to ensure that anyone who's representing an actual district as a member of PCAC must be a parent of a student is currently in school. And then we actually did add that definition, so everyone's very clear that it could be like a biological or adoptive parent or legal guardian, or even an individual acting as a parent in the absence of a parent or guardian for any student that's enrolled in Prince George's County Public Schools. So we wanted to be really clear to make sure everyone understands who would be members that represent that district. And then we actually, there was a lot of conversation over the fact that the superintendent was the one who first looks at the applicants and identifies who he thinks should be as a member, and then sends that to the board member of the different districts. And the thing is that the board member, that there's usually, according to Chair Briggs, a good number of applicants. And so what we changed the language to say that, yes, the superintendent will like review all of the applicants, but instead of just picking one per district, he would actually be providing from the group a list of acceptable applicants and not picking one over the other. And that then gives the board member an opportunity in that district to choose of those acceptable applicants. And then we really tried to be very clear about the language in terms of if a parent doesn't meet the requirements, And I mean, if a person didn't meet the requirement of a parent of something similar happened previously, or if a 12th grade parent could be a parent of a 12th grader, could be a member for that 1 year as their child was in 12th grade. But once the child graduated from high school, then that would open a vacancy for the PCAC, and then there'd have to be an application process. And the other thing that we did put in, this is new from the last time, is that any position that does come open, first of all, we want that within a month at the very latest, there has to be the board office along with the superintendent's liaison has to make sure the applications are out and available for people to apply so that they can move forward and get that application filled immediately. And we don't have what happened previously where we had some positions just sitting there for extended period of time. Because it's important to have every single district represented if we're going to operate as a PCAC. And then the other thing we talked about in the process starting that by March, they would, which should be next month. So many of the people who are currently on PCAC, their term will come up because it'll have been 2 years and the terms are 2 years long. So that means that there should be advertisements and information going out for people to be able to apply starting in March for the following year. And then as it goes through that application, that whole review process, the applications come in, the superintendent has to review, then it goes to the board, either a full board or a board member for a district, and then they have to vote. With the idea that by May, the decision has been made who would be the members on the PCAC for the following year. That way, the PCAC is, you'll have one final meeting in June, and then you turn around and you start for the next year. So everything's in place that when you begin the next school year, you're not wondering where are the PCAC members and still waiting for PCAC members to come. So that was another one that was, I think, an important change in the process. Let's see what else there was that we added that was different. I have so many mark-offs on this that it's amazing. Oh, there was the question of the student board member, and the student board member, the board may ask the student board member to be a liaison to PCAC. The member can't be the student member can't be a member to PCAC, but can be a liaison, play the role liaison. And because a student board member is first of all, either 11th or 12th grade, and they are busy with so many things going on in school and studying and everything. And they're very involved in many of the school systems activities and board kinds of activities. We did add language that would say that if there is situations where the student board member as the liaison couldn't attend a PCAC meeting, they could actually request that one of the members of the student advisory council, they could select someone from there to serve as their alternates so that we'd, have that student present as a liaison. And then let's see what else we said. Does talk about that if we do the bylaws should then define what it means when to require, it should say that it's required a PCAC member must be in good standing, and then the process to remove a member if they're not in good standing, so that once we get through that process of the policy being approved, I do think PCAC needs to come back and really look at their bylaws and make revisions to them to just make sure they're in alignment with the changes to the policy. And then there's language also that says that the board and the superintendent will consult regularly with the PCAC, but not less than quarterly. So that language was really vague previously, and it could have been once a year or something. It was nothing that really explained that it need to be at least on a quarterly basis. So and that prior to the first board meeting of the school year, the board and the superintendent will meet jointly with the PCAC just to receive input regarding the development of annual performance goals of the board and the school system. So that's important that PCAC is being provided the opportunity to give that input as the board and the superintendent develop goals for their operation for that school year. And then let's see what else. The only other thing is that there's language in the part about the board office working in conjunction with the superintendent's liaison to ensure that we have all of the application, that whole process is going up, and that those applications are available and visible to any parents in the community that want to apply to be on the PCAC, and that is also advertised even in our some of our newsletters that go out, so that PCAC parents know that they have this opportunity, that they can apply, and when the deadline is and everything, and make sure that it's accessible for the parents to get the applications. So I think those were like the big changes. I know that Chair Millhouse probably has them all memorized, and she could tell me anything I did miss in the process. So, but I think those were the biggies where we discussed. And I have to tell you, of all the policies we've worked on, there's only been a couple that we have spent this many policy and governance committee meetings on. So the committee has really put a lot of thought into this policy, and other board members also came in several of the meetings to come and give input. So I think that the Board of Ed is very committed to working with the PCAC and getting the input from the PCAC.
Yeah, and so Rob, and I appreciate it, and yes, I made sure that I marked my calendar. And was able to provide some insight and support for the recommendations that came from PCAC. And so yeah, I wasn't letting go. I appreciate that. So thank you so much for the work that you've done with the committee.
Well, and the committee appreciates that more than ever. They really do want parent input on these policies, because the policies impact the community and the parents and everything. So I think the work you did and just even the committee discussing and everything was really important in this whole process.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And you are a gem that we have you and Dr. Jackson here just to enlighten us is the way that you all have with engagement, as well as what I know that I've learned just about the policy tracker and everything else. And so it was very enlightening to be a part of those committee meetings, making sure that the recommendations that we pushed through didn't go to the wayside, and I provided some context to why, right? We needed it to happen and the impact of it. So it wasn't just words, it was more so, hey, this is why, especially with the 12th grade, the parent who has a 12th grade student, I wanted to make sure that if you are a parent with the senior next year, that you're not deterred, right? You can still serve, but knowing that you won't be able to fulfill the 2-year term, right? Because you will at some point not be a parent with a child in the school system. So thank you for that.
And I do want to point out also that so all the members here, that you're wrapping up your 2nd year. If you would like to stay on PCAC for another year, then you certainly can put in an application, just like anyone else, to continue on, because you are allowed to stay on PCAC for 2 terms.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. Dr. Jackson?
Thank you. Thank you, Robin, as well. It was such important information for our organization. I have some updates. First of all, I want to wish everybody a happy African American History Month. Our school system is doing many things to support schools and students in their observance. We're also observing Chinese New Year. So if you follow our website, you'll see a very dynamic display of just commemorations and sharing ideas and activities, and even opportunities for anyone on the website to tell their story about their own journey as African Americans in our system. So that's exciting, coming from our communication department and our curriculum instruction department. For us in our Department of Family Community Partnerships, we have Family Institute sessions happening just every week, just about. We are going to reschedule Ms. Lundy's session. It happened to fall on January 25th, which was also one of our public hearings for the budget, a budget work session. So we need to reschedule that because Ms. Lundy, we need that session because my office is being charged with establishing an advocacy in Annapolis Day. And we need our families and our leaders to know how to be good advocates when we take those busloads of folks down to Annapolis. And I'll have more information about that shortly because working closely with our chief of staff as well as communications to make that happen. But for Family Institute, we have had, like I said, a session every week. We just finished in January, social emotional learning and mental health. And you'll actually get a copy of all of this tonight from Ms. Barton. We had a session explaining Title I in community schools. What is it and how those two initiatives work together in support of schools. Coming up next week, next Tuesday, our Maryland library system will be presenting, talking about all of the services and activities that they provide for students and families. Maryland National Capital Park and Planning will be presenting on February 20th, getting folks ready to get their children ready for summer fun and learning activities. And we're doing it in February because the deadlines for registering for summer activities are right at the beginning of March, and we don't want families to miss that. But you'll see the whole list. We are definitely, my team has just been on fire, reaching out to partners across the system, across the county to present as much information as possible to families so that they can be able to support their children. You'll also see in the slides that we shared tonight, just what the other people in our department do. As you know, we presented earlier this year, but all of the different initiatives that are happening all the time, the parent leadership, if you have questions about a PTA, PTO, whatever you want to call that organization, we focus on that. We develop and help schools run what we call parent cafes, which are small groups of parents that want to talk about social emotional learning. We have alumni engagement. We have father engagement, what we call dadversities, like dad universities. We also are doing a great deal of work to engage our diverse families. We have a big session coming up on February 17th for our large, growing Afghan community of families that are coming in. So we do our best to stay out in front and in partnership with all of our families that come to Prince George's County. We have business and faith-based partnerships that we work to develop and sustain. Volunteer recruitment and training and community engagement are like Ms. Lundy and those other community organizations, making sure that they know how welcome they are and the opportunities that they have to be partners. And then, of course, we have our code of conduct that we implement. Our office is in charge of helping parents who may fall in violation of the code of conduct for families, volunteers, and visitors to be able to have restorative practices. We want all families to be partners in the educational process for their children. And sometimes in my conversations with parents, they fall out of compliance because sometimes as school system folks, we might trigger things. You know, we may not respond, or we may bounce parents around from office to office to office without giving them resolution. And one of the things that our office does is to work with parents to help them help their children effectively. So all of that is in the slide you'll get from me. And then I just want to shout out some major things that are happening. February 13th at our next PEA meeting, a company, an organization called Operation Warm is coming in and dividing up 5,000 coats and 2,500 pairs of shoes that we're going to deliver to families in need that are going to be identified by our schools. If we have, not enough people to pick them up, we're going to be taking them to some of our homeless shelters, some of our Title I schools, just to make sure that that company knows how much we appreciate their donations to Prince George's County. On March 12th, there's going to be what our office calls a partnership breakfast for those entities that have a formal MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, where they've signed a commitment to work closely with Prince George's County Public Schools. There's opportunity for our superintendent to meet all of them. As I said, we'll be having an advocacy day in Annapolis, and that's about supporting our legislative agenda that we have in Prince George's County Public Schools. We'll be taking students, parents, educators, board members, it will be open. We're going to fill hopefully 4 big buses of folks to go with us. Something exciting from the superintendent that my office is helping him coordinate. As you know, Superintendent House has a lot of skill sets. And one of the things that he's known for in all of his upbringing and communities is he's a barber. And he's going to partner with some of our local shops and salons to do an activity that he calls fresh cuts on maybe one Saturday a month. But it's an opportunity to be in the community and to engage in particular fathers and father figures who are there at barbershops, who have sons or grandsons at barbershops, and have not only cut hair, but have conversations about the need for their engagement. And he's going all over the county to do that. We want him to go to as many diverse communities as possible. He believes in being out in the community. I was with him last night, as a matter of fact, at Ebenezer AME down in Fort Washington, where he's meeting with the education committees that many of our faith-based organizations have to talk about, the partnership that we need to just keep strong. And then, of course, last thing is he's visiting homeowner associations and civic associations, again, just to build that community of support, those wraparound services that our students need in our communities. So that's a lot of sharing, but I just wanted to let you know that, the partnership wing of our school system is just very vibrant, and we want to make sure that you all, because you are leaders in the field of, family engagement, to be aware of some of the things that are happening from the system, but you're always welcome to be engaged with us as well. And please pump your ideas to me and to my team. We are always open to make sure that we're serving as well as we can. So thank you. Thanks for your
I
time.
appreciate that. And Miss Lundy has her hand up, but before I go to Miss Lundy, I do want to ask, is the information that you shared, is it listed out that you're going to give it to Miss Barton, or?
Yes, I've already sent it to her.
Okay.
So hopefully she can. I don't know how she does such a wonderful job of sharing. So yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
and then that way, Carter, I know you're not trying to write down everything
Yeah.
Dr. Jackson just said. But we can just get that list and,
Yeah.
he can say, see attached.
And
That
as soon as I verify more dates, I will send those dates too.
And the other piece is, and is there a way that PCAT could be a part of the invite when the things are happening, so we can put on our calendar, so we have the availability to tap our board members on the shoulder and say, hey, you need
This
to
is happening
come out,
in your
right? This is happening, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That we can do that ahead of time.
Absolutely. As soon as I get dates, I'll share them with you and Ms. Barton, so that the whole PCAT can be informed.
Okay, that's great. And I'm very interested in that barbering piece, because he doesn't have any hair. So if you don't have hair, I'm not quite sure. I want to see you cut your own hair before you try to cut somebody else's hair. I mean, I'm just saying, Superintendent House, if you're watching this, we want to
You
see.
you gotta make sure you say that to
We
him.
can
I
tell him,
know he will be
cut your son
tickled.
hair first.
He
We
will
want to
be
see you cut your
so
son.
tickled. I think he's taking his son, so maybe his
Well,
son will be
He
his
should cut his son hair
example.
first, and then everybody could say, wow. Ms. Lundy, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Thank you. I don't know if this is not my portion for my part of the agenda, is it? I just have 2 questions before that, correct? I can't hear you, Ms. Millhouse.
Is this the question that you have to Mr. Briggs?
Yeah, well, I want to go with Dr. Jackson first, just to be in line, because she just spoke and I had a question.
Yes.
Then I can go for the question for Mr. Briggs.
Yeah, so go ahead to your question for Dr. Jackson.
Okay, so Dr. Jackson, thank you so much for that report that you just put forth. So I wanted to ask you, I don't know, I think it's directed to you, or it could be directed to Miss Attorney Welch, Miss Welch. With respect to our shelters, I do have resources such as the donation of used library books. And I was wondering, I've always had some people in my community and just people that I know based on my relationships that were interested in donating those type of books, used books, to our women's shelters or our family shelters. And I was wondering, would I go through you with that, or how does that work? Or Ms. Welch,
So, if it's going to the shelters, it does not have to come through the school system.
okay.
Yeah, and
Good.
actually, if you'd like to inform the school system, we have
Okay.
our McKinney-Vento team
Okay.
that
Okay,
they
can you
would
email me that?
love to hear. I will send you that information. They would love to
Yes.
hear that. Yes.
That's always been a dream of mine to do that, and I'm so glad I'm a part of this, so I've been able to do that. Okay, and then my question to Ms. Briggs, are you still there, Board Member Briggs? All right, I see the thing went off. Okay, fabulous. Okay, so I wanted to ask you back to the policy. So I did attend the last policy and governance committee meeting, the virtual meeting, and I do know that according to the policy that it does allow for the expiring members to have the what you call it, the consecutive terms or what have you. Is
Yes,
that it?
you
Okay.
can have a second term. Mhm.
Okay, so Mr. Briggs, what I wanted to address it to you is I wanted you to share with the PCAT members who may not have been in that meeting the reasoning behind the reasoning behind you all recommending to add the process where people whose terms are expiring, whether it's a district member or a specialty area member, would have to reapply when the policy allows for them to continue already. Why was that? What was the reasoning behind it to share with the people who were not in attendance at that meeting?
Yeah, I mean, I think the policy, there may be some semantics, but I would say definitely part of it is around equity. So we want to make sure that we have a good representation of folks who are interested in serving in the role. And I think that, you know, when we have fresh ideas and perspectives that are able to join PCAC, that's something that we always want to encourage. We, of course, are very grateful for everyone's service, and that I think is part of the purpose of the 2 terms. So you can serve the 2 years, you can apply a second time. So if you want to do that, then that option is available. But we also want to make sure that we are creating opportunities for those who are interested in joining PCAC, but they currently aren't on the advisory council.
So, and thank you so much for that. And so a part of my follow-up question would be, so to me, and anybody's welcome to go back and listen to the recording of the policy and governance meeting. So me being one of those members, so I'm speaking for myself, I'm not speaking for anybody else whose term is expiring. Let's make that clear. So to me, I was taken aback by the reasoning, because it doesn't mean because you're expiring that you won't bring fresh ideas if you've already served on the PCAT committee already. And so I was taken aback by some of the comments I heard during the meeting. I didn't really feel like it was professional. And I was really touched because I've served and worked hard as a part of this committee. And to say that if I reapply again, thank you, that I wouldn't bring fresh ideas if I was reappointed, I think that was unfair. That was unfair to say, because the policy allows for the expiring members, and you all would be that at one point yourselves, the new ones, to continue. So the policy already allows for that. So to imply that I wouldn't bring fresh ideas, me speaking for myself, I felt it took me back. I was really touched by that. So I just wanted to have that stated for the record. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Ms. Lundy.
Ms. Lundy, thank you so much. And I would encourage you all to make sure that you show up, sign up to speak at the Policy and Governance Committee. Send in your comments. or sign up to speak once it goes to the full board. Because I was able to do what I could based on the recommendations that we had discussed early on in our first part of the term. But, you know, I wasn't a part of the engaging conversations that were had. And so, Ms. Lundy, I do appreciate your candidness, and I also agree that it is not about you know, the fresh ideas, right? It is about allowing people to have the opportunity, but we also know as the inaugural group right now for the restart up or rebirth of the PCAC committee, a lot of the work that we have been doing has been very administrative, just laying the groundwork to get everything from the policy and the bylaws in place. So thank you, and I encourage you all to stay abreast of the upcoming meetings, to stay engaged and make sure that your voice is heard, and do not blindly think that anyone is going to speak for us on our behalf. Are there any other questions or comments for Ms. Welsh or Dr. Jackson based on their presentation?
Yes, Doctor, a question for Ms. Welch. Thank you so much. And it's a follow-up part B. So also, I don't know if Ms. Welch, if you recall or not, but during that meeting, talking about policy 1500, it was brought up a suggestion where the PCAC members could vote amongst ourselves with respect to if, you know, voting for those members who are expiring to be able to continue in their particular roles, whether it be a district or a specialty area. So I wanted to ask you, do you remember that conversation? And if so, you know, you can just let me know if I'm, you know, speaking amiss.
So first of all, I want to guarantee you that I know you're not speaking amiss, and I actually do not remember that specific thing, but that doesn't mean anything because I'm listening to all the other things. But I can go back and actually listen to the video. I often re-listen to those videos just to hear that point. But I'm interested in hearing more about your thinking about that statement.
Well, I didn't really have any big grandiose thing to talk about it, but because we understand and have had relationships such long, like for at least for 2 years on this board, I think we are knowledgeable enough and insightful enough, professional enough to vote amongst ourselves, just like we just did with this vote here. And I think we could bring equity, and we could bring, we can move forward with moving away from the administration, but to include the administration with having everybody to do the work. So that's what I would like to say.
I will tell you this, that the committee, one of the things the committee was concerned about was making sure that like all the members didn't go off at the end of like the first term or whatever, the second term. And now there's no one left that has any history in what's been happening, what's been going on. So, and it's almost like starting anew, that they really wanted to have a mixture so that they could have people that are on the committee that have had, you know, the experience. I think that the way things are going to play out because of the vacancies that have shown up even this year, and those will run for those people who have been appointed will run for 2 more years. There is going to be at least a little bit of variation, you know, so that we're not losing everyone at one time, because that was a concern that the committee members shared a couple times. And I don't know, Chair Briggs, if you want to say anything more about that, but that I know they discussed a couple times.
No, I think you said it perfectly, Mrs. Welsh, and just want to say that I think that also part of this is the ability to, as we're thinking about what PCAC does, and I know that that's ever evolving. We're building the plane as we're flying it. You know, the what PCAC will look like 5 years from now will be very different from how it's operating right now. Part of that is also thinking about how we can pass the torch down. So as you know, we have those new folks that are coming in. I think that content knowledge that we have is important. But I think also the systems and the processes that we have in place are important as well. So there is always going to be a continuation of the work if we're thinking about that and we're backwards planning, and we're really thinking about the next group that comes after this. So I wanted to mention that as well.
Mr. Epps.
Yeah, I do want to just make maybe a few comments just based on my experience and experiences in the PCAC, you know, what I've witnessed, you know, since my time here. And I think one of the first things that I made a statement with is that I wasn't personally interested as a volunteer playing politics. In my experience, you know, watching the work of others and, you know, watching our leadership, being a part of the leadership, watching Mrs. Millhouse and T. Carter Ross and everyone, you know, Miss Lundy, you know, the time invested wasn't a volunteer role. It just wasn't. And, you know, as I come up on my last few months, one of the reasons why my vote also went to Ms. Smith on the vice chair is because I care about, okay, I don't want the work that has been done to get lost, because there's a lot of sweat equity that's been put in by this, I'll call a team. And I just wouldn't want, and I am highly concerned that the PCAC is only in existence by name and not really a real force as it relates to how the Board of Education sees us. And so, Mr. Briggs, I want to share that. I know there is nothing that you can do right now, but the fact that we are still asking for a meeting, and there are a bunch of emails being back and forth when we still want to have a meeting, and there's still no meeting, it's highly frustrating as a parent, as a leader. I don't like to waste my time, and I don't want anyone else to waste their time. And there's been a lot of time invested by everyone here and some that aren't here right now. And I just hope that there are some assurances that our leadership that does listen to this. There's a lot of time that's invested. We don't know what it's going to look like 5 years from now, but if the pattern remains, the PCAC is going to look the same. And with a lot of people frustrated. And I hope that job is taken seriously and we're heard in that way going forward. So I just wanted to speak. I don't really have a question, but I just wanted to make that note.
Thank you, Mr. Epps. Ms. Walker?
Just wanted to echo some of the things that Mr. Epps has said. I know personally that each one of us has been doing the boots on the ground work within our districts with our respective board members. And we do invest a lot of hours into our district. And so I feel one of the biggest things that I was, really trying to push, and I feel a lot of great work was done, but it's still a lot of work to be done, is the publicity of who we are and what we do, because we are doing a lot of work. And I know that we have the annual report and things of that nature, but I don't feel like it fully captures the number of man hours, the number of meetings, the number of just meet and greets and all of those things that we have done. And we are doing these individually within our own districts, and we do try to support each other. But, our county is a huge county. And so if we have one board member and one PCAC member, and we're, our board members are doing monthly events, and we're trying to support the monthly events, but also trying to support like the large events, like when Dr. House first came on and you had those listening sessions. I think I attended every listening session, and there were members from this PCAC at every listening session. And just, that is a lot of logistics and a lot of labor just to make sure that, and there were some of those meetings that were highly insightful, that there were a lot of things that there's some things that changed because of that, like the school in Bowie is not closing, it's becoming an autism spectrum school. And so those are the things that we're pushing to help the community. We are advocating for the community. We are advocating for the students and the teachers and the schools. And that message is not getting out, and it's not being seen. And as Mr. Epps has said, like, after a certain point, when you are volunteering and you have your full list of organizations and professional things that you do, and a lot of people on this committee are entrepreneurs and have a whole bunch of different responsibilities, and we're all parents, you have to look at, where is my ROI? Where's my return on investment? You know, what, like, I attend as many as Dr. Jackson's presentation, these events, as I can, and they are very insightful and they are very helpful. And that's another thing that I don't feel like Dr. Jackson's office is being supported enough and getting the word out. You know, we have done a lot of great work this year, especially being invited to things like the transportation focus group. And then being able to have that discussion about the scorecards, and so being invited to these things, that is what we're here to do. But also that word has to get out and things have to improve. And we have talked about, you know, making the bylaw changes as far as having that matriculation and that retention of knowledge. And so I do hope that, you know, I do personally have friends that are school board members, and we have these side conversations, but I do hope collectively as a school board, this council is looked at with more respect. You selected us for a reason. You know, you selected us. We not, you know, we didn't just say, hey, I'm raising my hand and here I am. We were vetted for these positions based upon our experience and our connections within the community. And that is something that really needs to be appreciated, but also highlighted
Celebrated.
and celebrated as we move forward. And all the, like, the work that Robin Welch does is phenomenal work. It's a lot of work. And so collectively, just the man hours that are here and the body of knowledge that's here and the advocacy that's here, you know, these are the things that need to be highlighted and understood by the board.
That was good. Thank you.
Well, I want to say to you, Mr. Epson, Ms. Walker, that I can only speak for myself as a board member. And I know that, you know, PCAC is an important, key component to the school system running, successfully. And I think that I know for a fact, both from my own personal experience of working as an educator, how important it is that parents and community members are engaged in the school. You get better outcomes, you get better scores, you get better grades. So I don't think anyone necessarily is opposed to that, right? We all want to see our students succeed and see our school system succeed. So it is, definitely disheartening to learn of the news. And I can only speak to my experience and perspective as a board member and also a very recent member of PCAC as a liaison. But what I will say is that I will take that back to board members. And I would love to learn more too from whoever would like to have like a conversation about the specifics of what it is that you're feeling is the barrier. I know we've had a number of kind of points that have been listed. But I think that maybe that's what's not clear. So as I think it's Albert Einstein who said, doing the same thing and expecting a different result never gets you, right? So if we're not getting the results we want from the approach we've taken, then we got to take a different approach. I want to make sure that we're doing that to get you the results that you want. Even if it's, this is the end of your term and you're looking and you're saying, I know that I'm leaving a better, brighter PCAC for the school system. I can trust that what's going to happen here is going to be good, or you're still here. So I want to just offer that up to you all. Anyone that would like to reach out, and I can share my email. I think you all have it because we send it out weekly, but just want to say that I do want to hear those specific concerns as well.
Mr. Briggs and PCAC members, I'm going to speak on behalf of us as a committee as a whole, as your chair. And Mr. Briggs, I know that you've had several meetings with Mr. Carter and you and I have met. And so the words that you've heard from the individuals are the same collective words that I've said to you, that Mr. Carter has said to you, that there is a disconnect between what the board wants us to be and what the law says that we're here for. And you've seen the emails. The emails started prior to you getting here. They have continued while you are here. And so I don't think we need to have a whole bunch of individual meetings with you. We have requested several times to meet with leadership of the board. And at this point, we are waiting to hear a response from the board leadership, who the policy also states should have meetings with PCAC, at least on a quarterly basis. And so at this point, I can't tell a member not to email you, but it doesn't change the story or the tone of the message that has been sent, that we are here to advise, we are here to support, we are here to work collectively, but we are not anyone's puppets. We are not to play any games. We are truly invested. And it is personal for a lot of us because our children are here, or the grandchildren that we now get to play with and send back home are also attending because the children have attended. And so this is very personal for a lot of us. And the hours that have been invested, we can't even count. We will add them to the report. But what we're saying is we have a value to add to the school system. We don't need to keep asking. We don't need to keep begging. We're doing the work. The question is, does the board understand what they say they believe in as it relates to engagement, like you shared from your own experience? You understand the impact of engagement. Now be a part of how powerful it really is when you partner with us. And so we're asking as a collective for a response from the chair of the board, the vice chair of the board, to meet with us. We created the report. We sent the report for recommendations. We still haven't even met to talk about the recommendations. There are things that have been implemented from that report, but we didn't send it just for you all to implement, but really to look at it and see the best way to implement, not just cut and paste. And so what we're saying is we already know what our value is. We're not asking anybody what it is. We know what it is. We're just saying, sit down, let's talk, let's have some conversation, take some of the information that we're getting from our, our peers in the community, and let's make some things happen here in PGCPS. Mr. Epps.
Mr. Briggs, just in summary, we are here to advise and counsel. You can't do that off the reports. That's all Ms. Millhouse is saying. There has been no opportunity for us to advise or for us to counsel. They carry out the last two letters of PCAC. There is no other story that needs to be told. There is no other email you need to read. There is no other complaint that you need to hear. We just want the opportunity to advise and counsel. And that takes communication. That does take at least one meeting before we leave. And that's the only thing we want at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Epps. And so at this point, we're going to close out on this discussion, which was item 1.6, report of the superintendent designees, that I think also have rolled into item 2.2, district community updates. But I do know that Ms. Lundy, you wanted to share some of the bills that are being discussed right now.
Yes, thank you so much, Chair Millhouse, for giving me the opportunity to speak. So yes, as Dr. Jackson said, I do have a presentation that's going to be rescheduled, Why Parent and Civic Engagement Matters and How to Get Involved. And as a part of my presentation, I will be going over the bills. It's so many of them, but I want to just touch on a few as it relates to education. In the House of Delegation, the PG 50424, Prince George's County Early Childhood Education Program and high school to child care centers. Established, it offers a certain career and technical education program for early childhood education. That's just wonderful, that legislation, that bill. And these are late file bills I'm talking about, coming out of the Prince George's County House of Delegation. PG County, and you can go to that website to look at all the bills for the education yourself. I'm just going to highlight 3 of these. Then I have one last comment for summary. PG 50524, Prince George's County Family Child Care Home Expansion Grant Program. That's kind of self-explanatory there. PG 50224, Prince George's County Education Behavioral Health and Safety Action Plan. Okay, and that establishing a student support specialist network consisting of certain school-based personnel at each public high school in Prince George's County.
Can you state that bill one more time, Ms. Lundy? You on mute.
Unmute. Thank you so much. That is, I love this technology. You can hear that you're on mute. Okay, it is PG 50224, Prince George's County Education, Behavioral Health and Safety Action Plans, establishing a student support specialist network consisting of certain school-based personnel in each public high school in Prince George's County. I'm just gonna leave it there. But a part of my presentation, when we reschedule, we'll be talking about how bills become law. How can I see where bills are proposed and passed? And this is engaging our parents so they can engage our people who are making decisions on behalf of them and their child or children. How I can get involved. And useful links. We will actually be clicking on the links for finding my representative. I'm looking at our House bills, Senate bills, Maryland General Assembly, video tutorials, and also how to set up an account with the Prince George's County General Assembly. With respect to my own report, with respect to civic and community, as a member of the PCAC, I have been partnering with the End Time Harvest Ministry, working with the president who invited me to come on based on my role in PCAC, in a pilot program where we are focusing and looking at youth safety and mental health initiatives. It's a pilot program and working with our port towns, and that's in the Bladensburg community, the Coleman Manor community, Edmiston community, and Carter City, working with those students and their parents. So again, this is the engagement that I have been involved in. Also, I attended a meeting in Glen Arden where we had Senator Benson there, you know, Senator Benson, and we had also one of the council members there sponsoring, along with Delegate Tiffany Austin. And they went over a lot of the bills, education bills, and all of the other type of bills that Delegate Austin will be sponsoring, as well as those bills that Senator Benson will be sponsoring. So we are out there in the community. We are being seen. We are asking questions. And more importantly, we are engaging with our parents. And parents were there giving their feedback about a lot of things that's going on. Talking about those IEPs. Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just want to make sure. So parents are talking to us. So just want to let you know that. So the work is being done. And so I just want to let you know that I have been out there in the community doing my part, representing the PCAC. Thank you so much for letting me share.
Thank you, Ms. Lundy. And I also want to make sure that I state while we are here that Miss Wilson had to go, as she stated, to her school's PTO or PTA meeting tonight based on some information that they found out. And she wants me to make sure that you are connected with her, that you may be able to do the training for those parents because they may need some support in being able to write public comment to appropriately express their concerns to
My pleasure.
the board. So
yeah, please
thank
make
you
that
for
connection. Yep, thank you.
I definitely will as soon as we get off this call. And at this time, I'm going to circle back. I think we're fine with my chair as the my report as the chair. I don't have anything else to add. I do want to just circle back and state that we will post the information that we got from Ms. Rashida Tyler, the supervisor for the strategic planning and the change management group that we met with to review the climate and culture survey, which was extremely informative in making sure that the community is aware that the survey is out. We, as the PCAC, were able to ask some really insightful follow-up questions. And that she is going to provide us that information as well, that we will be able, and hoping that they will share that with the community. But those are the things that for me, when we talk about how we advise, that we are engaging with the superintendent and his chiefs in the various departments, just really allowing us to be a voice at the beginning of the process, in the middle, as well as the end. So that is a big thing. I want to move on to thanking everyone who has sent in their name stating that they want to be a part of that bylaw subcommittee. Appreciate you in advance. And so this is when the fun is going to start. But the recommendation form, I shared the recommendation form. Ms. Barton, are you able to open that form?
I can try. Let me try now.
I mean, I can go to it. And so I created a form that would allow us to, we can place it on the PCAC's web page. And that way individuals can submit a concern that they may have, but also provide a solution. Realistically, we don't have the capacity to take in phone calls. We're not an extension of the board, right? But it is a way that we can provide some insight and information, from the individual's perspective, that we can roll up and put in our final report that we send out to the board and superintendent on different ideas that may be brewing out there in our community that may be the solution, a sustainable solution that we're looking for. So were you able to pull it up? No. I don't know if I have the capability to share on my screen, but did everyone get a chance to look at it? If you could all come off mute real quick.
You can share if you need to.
Okay, thank you. That was the same email you sent about your bios and everything too, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. And so I will, you said that I can share my screen?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Can you all see the form?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and so this is just, trust me, it's a draft, and I welcome any feedback. But let me show it in preview. So it's just very simple, just having people to identify what district they live in, which may not also be the same district their child goes to school in. But like me, I live in District 7, but my children attend school in District 6. So this is why I added the specialty program, the neighborhood school component. And that way we can maybe determine from that, that the child realistically may not be in the district. We can also add, but I think that just may be a lot for a person to, have to leave the form itself to kind of figure out what district the school is in, which they can also find on the website or the school's website, but neither here nor there. State the problem and the impact, state the proposed solution, and then provide any further details. So this is following the layout of the report that we had sent in that provided a recommendation, provided supporting information, why we were recommending it, what issue that we were looking to resolve, and that was it. And so I wanted to get the feedback from you all as a collective, if you all are comfortable with moving forward with such a tool to add to the PCAC website, as well as send out, have the board member send it out, your board member, or as the community representative, people in your community to send it out. I know it seems to be very specific to the parent, but it also states what district do you work in. So I want to open the floor for some discussion right now. Do I need to bring it back up?
Yes, that would be helpful probably.
Carter?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for taking the initiative on building that out, because I think it is something that will be valuable and helpful. I don't know if we maybe need a little more language around, state the problem, state the solution, if maybe just the way that's phrased, so people understand this isn't just my kid's bus is late every day, type problem, which is a big problem if that's happening, but, that we're looking for also systemic issues and problems. So maybe the bus isn't the right example. Maybe it's, my kid's math teacher keeps giving me a hard time or something. That's not necessarily the sort of things we're looking for here. Yeah. But thank you for getting this started.
No, you're welcome. And I'm always a believer that if we have a starting point, we can build off of it, right?
Right.
And so, presenting it to the group, like you said, with something to start with, and then we can like tear it down and start over or just build upon it. But I think that is a good suggestion to really kind of build out what we're asking for so it's clear, right? And so it may be an example that we add there, right? And it gives a kind of framework on how they should present what the problem is, right? So yes, as well as state the proposed solution. And I can't see the hands while I'm sharing screen, so I need help.
Ms. Smith has her hand raised.
Okay.
Thank you. Chair Millhouse, I reviewed this document and I agree it's a great start. I sent some extensive comments back. One of the points, or maybe I should say, one of the concerns that I have relates to data analysis. I'm wondering, is there a way for us to try to create some buckets of information? Otherwise, we will have to try to query through open-ended responses. Not saying that we can't have some questions or that we cannot have some responses that are open-ended, but areas of concern, because we Mr. Ross just talked about systemic issues. There may be an opportunity to create some categories that the person who is responding to this could select from. So that's all I wanted to say, because I don't want to spend too much time going into all of the comments that I put on the form, but that's one thing that I wanted to point out, just how we would utilize the information that's coming back to us from a data analytical perspective.
And so I'm taking the notes right now. Okay, and Carter, if you can, whoever else's hand is up.
Ms. Lundy's hand is up.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. So thank you so much, Ms. Millhouse, for this as well. I think it is an excellent start as well. And I agree with my colleagues' comments that they have suggested. And the latter comment of Ms. Smith, she and I were thinking about like the same. I ran into a parent, in fact, yesterday, who really was very frustrated that she's a parent, but she's also like a guardian type parent. And the child, because her sister passed, so she became, the guardian of this child who has been in IEP since starting school, right? And her frustration now is, after graduating and getting this certificate, and on top of having mental health challenges, can't find a job, can't find employment, can't get help, is being frustrated trying to go through the system. And so listing some of these areas out, and then have maybe another category where it's talk about stating the problem and the impact. And one of the impacts is the employment, especially for IEP students sometimes, especially when they have mental health challenges. So the impact of that, they can't find housing or employment. Sometimes it's very hard to navigate your social services and disability systems. So there you go. So I thank you for this. And I just want to make that comment based on my conversation with a parent I had on last night.
Thank you, Ms. Lundy. Thank you, Ms. Smith.
Ms. Walker's hand is up.
Ms. Walker.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a couple of points of clarification for Ms. Lundy. When a student has an individualized education plan, they are required to have a transition plan. So in having a transition plan, if you are in secondary education, your support team is required to provide you a transition plan of what your life looks like after high school. So those are actually federal regulations that there are people in place. And there are organizations, the state has organizations that assist students. And there is a difference between receiving a certificate of attendance and receiving a high school diploma, but that's all a part of a student's individualized education plan, but there are support and services for those students that have matriculated through any school system in the county, but definitely Prince George's County Public Schools. So that may be a recommendation that they do need to reach out to the state Department of Education if they need some more support if a student has transitioned. And I mean, I believe those are things that, you know, like Dr. Jackson's office provides information on those and provides seminars on student support. And, you know, so, you know, that goes back to our purpose of understanding that's outside of the scope of what PCAT can do, but we can guide you and say, hey, this is who you need to contact, right? So those are things, you know, I do know a lot about special education compliance. That's my job. So it is very important that we understand the differences in the roles and what different things look like for different students within the county. But there have been seminars and, you know, for instance, in District 8, Dr. LaSalle, you know, there was a community meeting over in Oxnard High School, and we discussed what student advocacy looks like for your, as a parent. What does it look like? What does it look like navigating through an individualized education program? And very few people attended, but this goes back to the communication and the outreach of overall as the school system promoting these things, and how can we improve the attendance for, you know, parent engagement, and how can we get the word out and meet the needs, the communication needs of different groups of parents.
Mhm. Thank you, Ms. Walker. And you just, I think this form is a good idea, but I digress, right? Because again, I don't want us to go into this as we're now gathering all of this data, and then we have to then begin to analyze it, right? But it is a way that something that we may come and create and provide to our board members when they're sending out their newsletters, and they can attach to their newsletters, right? They can create, you know, here's a suggestion, you create your own form so it goes to you all's, you know, whatever email accounts you all have, because the reality is we only have one email box. We have one email box. And Ms. Smith, welcome to the committee. You will be a part of that. Part of one of the three that will be reviewing the box with us. So I don't want us to take on, so let me go back, you know, I created that form thinking, because, you know, we're getting now more emails into the PCAT box, and people are communicating to us as if we are the board. And we are not the board, right? So that goes back to the communication. So I really want to step back and say, I think this form could more so not be something that we have to then begin to delve into the information and begin to do the analysis. That's not what we're here for. So let me not put anything else on our plates that are already overflowing, but that we can create something where our board members can utilize it to gather information. So when they're going out to their monthly chat and choose, they can have a better idea of what's happening in their community. So then when they go, there's something that they're presenting. I'm bringing you some information that is vital to the information that's been, you know, sent into me. even though everyone is not gonna be able to come at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, because we got games and everything else, but you can send it in the newsletter, right? But I am still engaging with you. And so I'm big on us doing things a little differently and stop defining engagement by a person in the seat in front of me. That's not engagement. That doesn't define how engaged I am. So I want us to take off the hat that we're going to be using this to do the work, but more so, can we create something that can maybe help our respective board members to be a little bit more engaged and better in communicating information that is very vital to the needs of the voices that they're hearing in the community. Does that make more sense? Because I just felt overwhelmed by looking at that document and listening to you all talk, because I don't have the capacity to do that. We don't have the capacity. My kids have come in here 5 times already. So, but I would like us to work on improving the language and what we're asking for. And so who wants to take the lead? Ms. Walker, don't take your face out of the screen. I see you. Because you know you're the data person. It's already done. You just got, it's already done. It's already done. You just gotta make it sound better.
I
You know.
can take a look at it.
It'll
I'll do
help
that.
you. It'll help you. It'll help. I'm a budget and
I don't mind
policy
working
person.
with you as well.
Right. Right. I'm a budget and policy person. That's my thing. I love budget and policy. So, Ms. Smith said, she said yes, and then everybody else. So,
Yeah.
but we're excited, I mean, I don't think we gotta, it's too much, because I think too many questions, nobody's answering that, right? But this is what you do. That's what you do. I can't see
Yes, it
myself
is.
smiling
It
at you.
is.
I can't see myself smiling at you. And it's just a recommendation. They can do with it what they would like. And we can also ask Ms. Tyler, to give us some feedback, because this is what her department does, right? But we just want to find ways that we could support the helping our board members become more engaged and better situated when they are out in the community, and they at least have some information that they can summarize rather quickly, especially if we get some of those data points, the categories in there, so we can differentiate the information. I get that right, Ms. Smith? I took good notes. So I'm going to turn, well, it's already turned over. It's in the drive. And hopefully we can, come back in March and maybe look at it and do some voting on how to move it forward as part of the recommendations in our report. Which tentatively, I'm hoping that we can have our next report out to the board by May. And so tally up how many hours you all have been working. Start thinking about the stuff that you all have been doing over the past year, the past 2 years, so we can highlight how many hours that we've spent collectively supporting the work as Parent and Community Advisory Council members. And so any other questions, comments about item 2.3, the recommendation form? No? Good, great. Item 3.1, follow-up bylaws. So I have 2 members from the committee that have agreed to help me present you all a draft for the bylaws. I will share the bylaws. Please provide any comments or feedback on the document. The goal is that we will meet next week, so I will email those individuals that sent their names to me, and we will begin working on making the revisions and updates. And Ms. Welsh, you know that you're an honorary member of the subcommittee for the bylaws. Appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, you could say no, but you're part of the committee anyway. You're going to get feedback. So, you know, we appreciate you.
I'll be glad to help.
I know. And you've been such a blessing. Gosh, you and Dr. Jackson have been such a wealth of information. So for the dates, the upcoming dates, there are a lot of dates, you all. So please make sure that you go to the Board of Education website. The academic committee is having an upcoming meeting February 12th. The Policy and Governance Committee is having their meeting on February 13th. Please, please, please make sure that you go on PGCPS's website to sign up to speak or provide comment. You don't always have to be there. You can send a video. You can send it in writing. I've sent videos before. I've just sent my comments in writing. I mean, my position in writing, but I enjoy being present to just give my 3 minutes live. But please do so. There is also February 14th, the Board of Education Operation and Budget Fiscal Affairs, or BAFA Committee. But we have on the 15th, that will be, I believe, the last and final budget public hearing. And so your voices do matter. They really do matter. And then, you know, make sure you are aware of the policies that are coming up. Parents that may not know, there's one about the bus. What is it, Robin? The one about a student's behavior on the bus. Yeah. So
Conduct, it's called bus conduct.
Bus conduct, right? So parents, be aware that if your child is misbehaving on the bus and then they lose that bus privilege, you know why? Because there's a policy that it's clear about how your child should be conducting themselves on the bus. So that is all I have. I don't know if anyone has any other. Yes, Ms. Welsh.
I wanted to also share that the board, the Policy and Governance Committee is going to be also discussing parent, family, and community involvement next Tuesday evening, because we did receive some public comment on that. So that's something that certainly you might want to just, you know, listen to, pay attention to what it is. It's a pretty extensive policy that talks about all the ways that both the school system can be involving parents as well as what parents can do to involve themselves. So I just want, you know, bring your attention to that.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And yeah, so and which policy number is that?
That was policy 0105.
010105. That was one of the recommendations that we had in
Yes.
the report that we sent in. So we do appreciate that. We do appreciate a lot of the policies that we did recommend. And I'm also hoping that an administrative procedure is going to be developed to accompany Board Policy 1500. Because there are some things that need to be flushed out on the procedural side for the policy itself.
That, and also the policy 0105 will be working with Dr. Sheila Jackson on updating the administrative procedure that goes with that policy too.
Yep. So, and it was at 4126 or was that 4127 for the procedure?
Oh, I'd have to look it up. I don't remember the procedure number for it. The policy is 0105.
Yeah, I think it's 4127 or 4126. But it's okay. I shouldn't be remembering all of these anyway. But I don't have anything else but I do, please make sure that you are staying abreast of what's happening. And this is also an election year. So we have a couple of seats that are coming up on the board. So if you have any parent that is eager to become a member of the Board of Education, please throw your name in the hat. I think you have until the 9th of February. You have a couple more days. You have 2 days left before you can apply for candidacy. So, but we thank you for the time. And at this juncture of the meeting at 8:57 p.m., I would like to receive a motion from the floor to adjourn.
So move, Lundy.
Who's second? Ms. Walker?
Walker.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. And at this time, any, all in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
And if anyone opposes, please, you can stay, but we're gonna go home. You have a good night.
You too. Good night, everyone.
Good
Bye.
night.
Thank you.
Good night.